Hello, Waffle lovers. Welcome once again to another episode of Whatever Flips Your Waffle here on 365sportscast.com. I'm your host, Mark Domeyer, coming to you, as always, from the bunker deep in the heart of southern Minnesota. And the bats are heating up, the pitching's heating up, Major League Baseball is here, and we could not be more excited in the state of Minnesota. I'm glad you've joined us once again. I'm going to do a little rambling about Minnesota sports. We got a special guest coming up shortly. Welcome to those of you who tune in every week, Wednesday at 7 o'clock Central Time here on 365sportscast.com. And welcome to those of you who are checking things out for the first time. I hope you'll enjoy it, and will join us every week right back here. Same bat time, same bat channel. Let's talk, before we get to our interview this week, and it's a fantastic, fun interview with a young baseball player. Let's talk about the Minnesota Twins. As you know, I record this always a little bit in advance. I have to do a few things, and so this is taking place a little bit early. And so as I'm doing this, the Twins are playing Monday night against the Seattle Mariners in the last game of their 4-game series, and so that outcome is yet to be determined, though the Twins are up at the time. But when you look at the start of the season, expectations have been so high for the Minnesota Twins. And you come into the first couple games of the year and you lose one-run heartbreakers. And immediately, I shouldn't even go on social media at times like that. I shouldn't go on Facebook. I shouldn't go on Twitter, anything like that. Doom and gloom, we're going to lose 162 games this year. Well, maybe we'll win one or two. It's all over here. And then they come out and play a game like they did on Sunday, hit 6 home runs. Pitching is pretty decent by and large, and all of a sudden get kind of back on that role that you think about for the Twins and the hopes for the season. Well, here's the thing to think about. The Twins' schedule to start this year is brutal. I think everybody looks at the Seattle Mariners and thinks, oh, it's the Seattle Mariners. They haven't been in the playoffs forever. But as we talked about last week with Andrew Newer of Let's Talk Twins, the Mariners came really close to making the playoffs last year. They added the Cy Young Award winner on their pitching staff. They've added some other guys. They have tweaked their roster to the point where they are a contender this year. I think they're even a contender in the American League West. I mean, Houston's going to be right there. But it seems like, they lost Correa to the Twins, and there's some other changes and stuff. If the Mariners play well, and I think they can, and come along, they have a chance there. They certainly have a chance in the wild card with the expanded playoffs this year as well. So a quality team. Then the Dodgers are going to come to town, weather doom permitting, for a couple of games. And then they go out to Boston for the home opener out there. Wow, that is a murderer's row of teams to start this season with. The Dodgers, certainly the prohibitive favorites to win the World Series this year. The rich get richer as they sign Freddie Freeman. But this is where the Twins have to step up, and if they're going to start a little bit slow, well, they will. And as much as I dislike losing one-run baseball games, when you have a lot of opportunities in a lot of situations, you got to tip your hat to the other team too and say, wow, they did. But then you look even at our bullpen, pitched really well in those 2 games and gave our team a chance. Gary Sanchez coming just short of a walk-off home run in the bottom of the 9th on Friday. And a Saturday too, you take the lead on a huge Buxton home run, and then you just give it away with Tyler Duffy in the bullpen. And let's talk about that bullpen and the closer's role and everything else. I don't know. With the trade of Taylor Rogers, who was probably going to be your closer, even though he wasn't the highest on my list of, oh, yay, this is going to be lights out when he walks out there, it seems like it's up for grabs. Now, giving Duffy the first chance seems a little bit right. He has pitched really well at times in that 7th or 8th inning role, the pressure situations, but there's just something different about walking out there in the 9th inning of a one-run game and having to shut down the other team, and they hit him pretty well, and some bad things happened to cost the Twins the win. But, do you give Duffy another chance the next time out? Probably. Do you look at matchups and do you figure that out? A lot of people think Alcala should be the closer. Duran comes in and throws some heat. There's a lot of options out there. But I think Baldelli's got to pick his way through this a little bit. It'd be nice to establish somebody within time. And I think where a lot of the frustration for the fan base comes from is we look back to last year and you see how the Twins kicked away some ninth inning leads often early in the season, starting with the very first game of the year in Milwaukee. They just seemed to blow leads, and the man they thought was going to be their closer didn't work out so well, and they had to shuffle things around. And those are the chances you take. Really good closers don't seem to last very long in the big leagues. They have some good seasons, and then they just will fall apart at a moment's notice. And that's difficult to predict. You have no idea when that's going to happen. And once it does, it tends to be a precipitous fall for those pitchers because so much of it is mental. And we've talked about that on this program before as well, that mental aspect of the game. But boy, the Twins came out slugging Sunday, 6 home runs. Gary Sanchez, welcome to Minnesota. I've seen things where people from New York are like, you're welcome to have him. He's going to cost you all these games defensively. But I really think by the end of the year, we're going to see Sanchez much more in the DH role than we will as a catcher. And let's face it, he made some plays too. The play at the plate where Kirilloff throws to Correa to Sanchez to get the last out of the inning to start that game on Sunday is huge, and all three of them did the right things in the right locations to make that happen. So even if Gary Sanchez isn't the greatest defensive catcher, I think we're going to see Jeffers back there plenty, and Jeffers has shown a lot as well. He's had some good at-bats, and he too has done some good things back behind the plate, calling the games and everything else. So I think we're going to see Sanchez fall more into that DH role where he won't be there. Baldelli loves to mix and match his lineups. Hey, we're going to have Sano be the DH or we'll have Arise be the DH or whatever the case might be. Be a lot of flipping around. But again, Baldelli loves to do that, but I really hope he can settle in on a solid lineup that you're going to play 5 days out of the week, maybe even 4 days out of the week, depending how many games you have. Make this the same thing. Guys love routine. They really do it in sports. It's so very important. And they don't always have that. And I think if you're coming to the ballpark and every day I'm going to hit in this spot and I'm going to play this position, that goes a long way to relaxing you and not worrying about that as you go along. So I think that's an area I'd love to see Baldelli improve in and just settle in. You know what? Injuries happen. You want to get guys at bats, and I understand that. I don't have a problem with that. Tom Kelly used to do the same thing, and he's a 2-time World Series champion. But Tom Kelly had a lineup that you could write out there, and you could pretty much predict day in and day out most of the time who it's going to be. Hey, this guy needs a day off. All right, Al Newman, you're in there, whatever the case might be. But you've got to do some of those things and make these guys comfortable. And if they're playing well, stop mixing up the lineup all the time. You'll probably hear me say that a few times over the months to come. But we'll see. It's early yet. I really think the Twins have a chance to play well if their pitching holds on and does a lot of nice things. Unfortunately, I'm like a lot of people, and I can't even watch the Twins because I don't have Bally Sports North. They don't have it on YouTube TV. They don't have it on Hulu Live. They don't have it on a lot of things unless you have traditional cable or the direct TV streaming, which I understand is somewhat expensive as well. It's just getting a little bit out of hand where, the Timberwolves fans, the Wild fans haven't been able to watch their teams all winter, and something has to give at some point in time. I wouldn't mind paying a little bit extra for that, but they're talking about it, even if they put an app out, BSN wants to have it cost between $20 and $30 a month. Holy cow. No, thank you. I'll listen to Corey Provis and Dan Gladden. They do a fine job on WCCO radio. I miss being able to watch it. I catch the highlights later on ESPN. But something's got to happen. You're going to lose some fans, especially the people who really need to see it in order to enjoy it all the way through. Well, let's turn now to some things closer, very much closer here to home. Sit back, relax, prepare yourself for another helping of Waffles, syrup optional. Next up is my interview for the week. This week I talked to Andrew Phillips, a local phenom on the baseball diamond. We talked about what it takes to succeed and how to try and reach the next level of baseball. Coming up right now. Joining the program this week, Andrew Phillips. He's a junior here at New Richland, Heartland, Ellendale, Geneva. Plays football, plays baseball. He's in the band, all kinds of things. Andrew, welcome to Whatever Flips Your Waffle.
Thank you.
It's good to have you here, 365sportscast.com. Let's just talk about sports in general. Like, you're passionate about sports. What is it about sports that is so appealing?
Well, I love to compete. I love to just help my team out, do what I can to help bring success to my team. I think that I was blessed with some ability by God to be able to succeed in sports, and I want to do all that I can to bring that ability to what I can bring it.
And this is from a young age. Like, do you remember when you realized I love sports so much?
I always loved baseball, and then I just started to play football in 6th grade. I'm like, this is kind of fun too. I like to kind of just run around and be able to hit people. Yeah. And then I just never lost interest in it. I still love sports.
Okay. So baseball is your favorite sport?
Baseball's my favorite sport.
Obviously. What is it about baseball that makes that so much, in your mind at least, your joy in baseball so much better than other sports? I just asked you a tough question.
Yeah, you did. Well, my dad loved baseball. He always coached baseball, so that was a big part of it at a young age. He's always been my coach. He's still an assistant coach today.
Right.
And he always just made it fun and made baseball a lot of fun to play, and I haven't lost that.
Okay. So if I said you could only ever watch one sport the rest of your life, you would choose baseball?
Yes.
Easily. It wouldn't even be, as much as it's fun to watch the NFL or the NBA or anything else, you would do that. So your dad's been your coach from like T-ball on up?
Yes.
All right. So that real deal, and you talk about, your dad has a real passion for baseball too, and that just sort of sinks in. You're surrounded by it, and that's always been a big thing. At what point did you decide, I need to put extra time into this? Like, you talk about, you've got talent, which you absolutely do. At what age were you like, you know what, I need to work harder, or, Dad said, maybe it's time to do this and this? When did that kind of sink in?
So my dad actually, he found the Blizzard program somehow online, and he's like, why don't you just give this a try?
And that's a traveling team in the area?
Yes, so that's a traveling club team based out of Vadnais Heights, or just north of St. Paul.
Okay.
And I went and tried out for that the first year and didn't make it, and I saw how much better that some of these kids were, how good they were at baseball. I'm like, so the atmosphere just was really cool. I'm like, this is awesome, just how passionate these kids are and how good they are at this game. I'm like, I could be this. So then that's when I really started putting in some work and countless hours, hitting off the tee over and over.
All right. And that's what age were you when that started to happen?
I was 13.
Okay. All right. So 13 years old, and you kind of decide this is going to be the thing for me. How important then, we talked about your dad, but how important is that support, not just from your dad, but the rest of your family, everybody else, to the success that you have?
Well, without them, I wouldn't have had the opportunity, because they knew I could be a special ball player, and they just supported me and gave me all these opportunities to play with Blizzard, play baseball here, just they got me everywhere I needed to be. They would always be there to cheer me on, and even if I was playing bad, and
it happens every now and then, right? Yeah. and do you find that being around the Blizzard and some of these other teams where you have a whole group of elite players brought together, that just ups everybody's game?
Yes, that when you're stepping into the box facing 90 miles an hour, you're like, I need to step up.
Right.
I need to act like I should be here.
Well, and you have people there that know how to do it. That can. You have everybody there that's successful, and so you kind of build off each other and watch each other. Oh, he does that. Maybe I should try that.
Yep.
And of course, a different level of coaching as well.
Yep. So when we were in Florida playing IMG Academy, one of the best national high school teams in the nation, and faced Elijah Green, who is going to be a top 5 MLB draft pick here.
Wow.
You can pick up a few things from kids like that.
Right.
Jackson Ferris, who's throwing 95 from the left side. You can pick up a few things.
Jeepers, I think I'd try to bunt. I don't know. I'd probably get hurt.
No, yeah, there's a lot of really good players that we see, and you kind of pick some things up and just, I don't know, that atmosphere of elite players just helps build on each other.
Well, you almost have to accelerate your ability, or you're not going to be part of that group.
Exactly.
Yeah, because if you don't keep improving and being able to keep up, there's other people waiting in line, I would guess.
People that would be happy to take that spot.
Right. So is it just like every year you continue to try out and continue to, be part of that group?
Yeah, so for Blizzard, there's a fall and winter season and then the summer season. So the fall and winter, you try out for that team, and then once we hit high school season, that's done, and then you try out for summer.
Right, because you can't be doing anything during high school season. That's off limits. It's time to be at home and do a few things. Get to stay at home for a little while. Yeah. So your dream is to play Division I baseball? You think you can get to that level? Is that attainable?
That's the first goal.
Okay, all right.
And then see where it can go after that.
Okay, so you're sitting here, you're a junior in high school, and I would imagine that process has begun for you.
Yeah.
Like, what are the first steps of, this is what I want to do, or are there colleges starting to kind of pay attention and watch, or how does that work?
So, about the beginning of winter is when that whole process started. I would do a few showcases. I did a showcase down in Fort Myers at JetBlue Park.
Right.
And so if you stand out at showcases, colleges will start to reach out to you, but really it's up to where you want to go. So I want to stay in the Midwest, so I reached out to all the schools around here in this area because I want to be close to home.
Okay.
So I reached out to a lot of colleges, and some will respond, and then if they see film and are interested, I went to a couple of camps for colleges. I think there's going to be a couple of colleges coming to watch this spring.
Okay.
So
that's exciting.
Yeah.
Hopefully your announcer could be there at those games
Hopefully.
to pump up the level a little bit. We'll see. Make it a good atmosphere when it's there.
Oh, yeah.
It's for those listening nationally, I try to announce games when I'm not umpiring and be there, and we have a fun time, good atmosphere at the baseball games.
Oh, yeah.
So you reach, you're sending letters, there's some film out there and everything else?
Yep, send emails saying who I am, what I want to do and then attach some film to it, and then just kind of tell them a little bit about me.
So you're like, hey, Coach Anderson at the U of M, here I am, kind of a thing, and wait and see what happens to there. So, when it comes to that, and is there a clear disadvantage here in the Midwest, in the northern states, when it comes to recruiting? I mean, you talk about going to showcases and everything like that, but let's face it, we're sitting here looking outside today. You're supposed to play a baseball game. It's not going to happen because it's snowing and raining and sleeting and everything else. It's cold. Do you feel any disadvantage to that, or are there enough opportunities now that you can still show what you have?
So, schools down south, obviously they have an advantage because they can play year-round baseball outside, and baseball is a game that should be played outside.
Absolutely.
So, it would be nice to be able to play outside all the time, but there's some pretty nice facilities that we can be in and get a lot of work in still. But if you took a kid from down south and brought him up here, he'd be like, man, this is way too cold. But yeah, we'll rough it a little bit outside when we get the chance, but for the most part, just hitting in a cage all the time, throwing into the net all the time, you can still get a lot of work in. It's just you're not going to be able to see the live at-bats outside, which is the biggest disadvantage.
Right. Well, and maybe, I don't know, it just struck me, we talk about baseball, like the Twins opening at Target Field in the middle of April where it's going to be, maybe 40, maybe 50 degrees.
Yeah.
That's a different style of ball game. Like you change the way you bat, you change the way you pitch. Maybe you guys from the north, eventually, if you can make it to the pros, have a little advantage when you're playing in those kind of conditions. I don't know.
Used to it.
Some of those guys, they have no idea how to respond when they, you have to play in that sort of a weather. But It's good stuff. What kind of, are there certain levels you feel like this is what I have to be able to show to play at a Division I compared to a Division II? Like what's that defining factor that says this is how I get to this compared to, I mean, you can play college baseball. Division I though, what does it take to get quite to that level?
Well, from the Division II to Division I level, it's a pretty big step. So Division I, you're going to be seeing 90 plus regularly.
Right.
Where Division II, you'll occasionally see that 90 mile an hour. But Division I is just a faster paced game. It's all, I mean, like if you went and watched a Division I baseball game and a Division II baseball game, I mean, obviously there's some pretty high D2 programs that could be D1, but it's a whole different ball game. It's faster. Kids are faster. There's a lot more, I mean, kids have a lot more pop off the bat. The ball just bounces off the bat a lot harder. And
so you have to be able to show you can hit that speed of pitching.
Oh yeah, you got to be able to
as well as the off speed and the curveballs and stuff that so adjust.
You got to have a lot of discipline at the plate.
Okay, all right, but the speed is with everything. Same, I suppose, if you go to a University of Minnesota football game compared to go to a Division II, Division III football game too. Yeah. Speed is everything.
Yeah,
speed is everything. Carly Wagner was on here a while back talking about that too, playing at the U, and said the speed and the strength.
Yeah, strength.
The strength, you have to be able to continue to do that. So you've talked about this traveling baseball. You've gone down to Florida and everything. You've been at like the spring training facilities for the Red Sox.
Yeah.
Twins won too, Fort Myers, or
I haven't been to that one.
Okay, so talk about some of the best memories you have, locations that you've had these opportunities with.
Well, when I'm with my team traveling, some of the best memories come from just hanging out in the hotel and stuff. But at a game standpoint, we traveled to Indiana. So it was during the summer. We went to Indianapolis, Indiana, and we walked off a game. So we were down the whole game. We tied it up in the bottom of the 7th, and then this was for pool play in this turn, or this was for this was to get to the championship.
Oh, so you're in the bracket.
Yeah, so we're in the bracket play. So there was no time limit or anything, so they let us play. And then, so we tied it up in the bottom of the 7th, held them in the top of the 8th, and then I led off the next inning. So we did the starting with the runner on second rule.
Oh, okay.
So I led off the next inning, and I think I had about a 12 pitch at bat.
Wow.
Kept fouling off pitches after pitches, and then finally snuck one through up the middle. So moved the runner over to third, and then the next kid hit a line drive and scored the runner, and then that was really fun.
Yeah. So you talk about the discipline at the plate.
Yeah.
You have to do that in a 12 pitch at bat, right?
And then another memory that I have from that at Fort Myers and at the Red Sox spring training was when I got to take BP in the stadium and then actually hit one into the bullpen.
Wow.
So that was cool.
Yeah. To be able to say, in the same park that these professional players play in, I put one over the fence. Yeah. That's unbelievable. We're here with Andrew Phillips. He's a junior here at New Richland, Heartland, Ellendale, Geneva. We're talking about his aspirations to perhaps play Division I baseball. Professional baseball. So clearly, if you want to play Division I, you think, in your mind, the pros.
Yeah.
Minor league baseball, hopefully to the big leagues, and the chances of that, who knows, right? With good work, you can get there, kind of a thing. But that's ultimately the goal.
That's the end goal, but
right. I can't imagine anybody who goes to play at a Division I school wouldn't hope to be able to do that. That can be a long road, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
a really long road.
Yeah, you don't just usually pop up to the major leagues real quickly unless your arm throws 100 miles an hour and
you hit the ball 115 miles an hour.
Right. Yeah. The speed off the bat is something else, but which would be certainly people in the area would be very excited if you continue to make those moves. I think you'd have some fans make some trips. It would give me a good excuse to move across the country and see different ballparks I want to see, depending on where. Unless the Twins draft you and you get through there, but who knows? So, So football, I'm going to take a sidestep here to football, because watching you play football and then watching you play baseball, clearly, I mean, obviously very, very different things, but the speed that you have on the football field seems to be a different type of a speed than you have on the baseball field. Like, I'm just trying to steer you where I think I'm going. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, the difference between when you're out in the football field compared to baseball, the sports themselves, you have a different level of speed on a football field.
Yeah.
Am I making sense?
I think so.
Okay. Because we don't have to run as far on a baseball diamond as you do out there.
90 feet.
Yeah. But because you're changing directions on a baseball field, and you might occasionally on a football field, but that breakaway speed in football, you get past that line of scrimmage and you kind of in the open field and you put on that extra burst. Is there anything similar to that in baseball, in your experience?
I think the only time that you're going to really be able to run is if someone hits a ball to the fence and you got to go get it. But
right.
Other than that, I mean, when you're running out of the batter's box, you take a few hard steps and then you're either putting on the brakes or you're trying to get to the next base.
Right. So, yeah. Rounding it or trying to get through there to get that safe
Or
ball.
if you're trying to steal second, you take 8, 9 hard steps and then it's a dive.
Right. So. Right. Yeah. Exactly. Is there anything else in football or anything else you've done that helps you when you come to the baseball field? I mean, you used to play some basketball too.
Used to play basketball.
You're traveling so much now; it's tough to do. But anything in there that kind of you bring across different sports?
I think just like training, so strength training, agility training, all that will tie into baseball. But I mean, you never really lower your shoulder and hit anyone unless
I hope not.
But just the training, being with a team, bonding with teammates,
right?
Always, because like if you go on to a showcase, you don't know anybody and you gotta play with a different team. So just being able to be on a few different teams to bond with other players.
Does it seem that the team atmosphere in a sport like football, I mean, you have teammates and you're doing things together, but baseball seems to me different when it comes to the way the team functions. You're supporting everybody all the time, but because baseball is such a slower paced game, it's not quite the frenetic activity that you see on a football field.
And you rely on every single teammate in baseball. Like, you want them to make a play. You don't want them to miss the ball. I mean, if they do, you pick them up and say, get the next one. But in football, if someone misses a block or something, then it can come back and a kid can come smoke the quarterback or something and get them hurt. Where in baseball, if you miss the ball, someone else will go get the ball, but nobody's like health is on the line.
Not usually, yeah. And if somebody has a bad at bat, strikes out, whatever,
go get the next one.
Yeah, the next guy comes
Baseball's
up to bat.
Baseball's a game of failure.
Yeah, it is absolutely. So, the quickness, and we've talked about that. You kind of keep relating to that. What kind of things do you do that can increase your speed and quickness, or is it? I mean, there's some natural quickness, but you must do some things to help that.
So, weight training, but to a point, you have to stay flexible. You can't be too tight, and then just sprints, short distance sprints as hard as you can. Ladders, so quick feet drills.
Okay.
A lot of like box jumps, jumping over hurdles or something to just build up that explosiveness. Sometimes like box jumps with weights and stuff, but a lot of just you gotta run, you gotta sprint as hard as you can. So like 10-yard sprints, 20-yard sprints, and then like deceleration too. So a 10-yard sprint and decelerate as quick as you can.
Okay.
Stuff like that.
So do you work with somebody on this, or is this stuff you guys have researched and come up with, or how have you kind of figured out this program?
So I have a training program through Mitch Brown. He's a guy in Rochester. He played in the minors.
Okay.
And he works at Rochester Batting Cages, so a ton of kids go through him. He's really good with velocity too, the throwing program, but he'll come up with weight programs, and then a lot of the speed stuff we researched, and Blizzard has some tips for speed, and coaches throughout the years.
Right, plenty out there certainly.
Yeah.
It's not hard to find things, but then you have to have the discipline and the dedication, because I assume you're kind of 365 days a year trying to stay in shape and work on all that. Different during football.
Yeah, you have to put everything into it, or else you're not gonna. I mean, you can still see improvements, but you're not gonna get to that elite level if you don't give it your all.
Right. Like you can maybe take a week-long vacation at some point in the year, but you got to get back at it.
Oh yeah.
Right.
You can't just keep taking vacation. Like you got to get back to work once you get back.
Yeah. The instincts you have too, as an outfielder, also as a base runner, that just comes through experience. I mean, can you improve instincts?
So you mean like
getting
a jump on a fly ball?
Yep, getting a jump on the fly ball, reading the play when you're on the bases, where the ball's going and what to take.
Like in batting practice or whatever we're doing, I just treat every single ball hit to me like it's a game situation. So I take every chance I get to read a fly ball, get a good jump on it, because that's one of my strengths, I think, is I can read fly balls and get a good jump on it and get to that ball. So I think that just came from my dad would hit me fly balls in the yard, and I'd take everyone seriously like it's a game situation.
Okay.
And then base running, that was a lot of experience too, just through. I mean, that you can kind of practice base running in practice, but a lot of that just comes from experience in game.
Because until you're in a situation out there.
Yeah. Exactly.
You haven't done. Do you take when I coached my thing that I said to the kids was always like, you're in the field, what am I going to do if the ball's hit to me?
Yeah.
Before every pitch.
Before every pitch, have a plan. Like, say there's a runner on second, less than 2 outs. If there's a fly ball, he's probably gonna be tagging, or a ball on the ground, he's probably gonna be rounding third and heading for home. So find your cutoff.
So it's really two things, like on the ground, in the air. Got to think about. Same on the bases. Okay. Yeah. What am I going to do if it's a ground ball, if it's a fly ball? And even there, it's left side of the field, right side of the field.
Depending on if you're on second, if there's a ball hit in front of you towards third base, you can either, if you think you can wait and beat the throw from shortstop to first back to third, or if a ball hit to second or first, you're going right away.
Yeah. And other times you just have to take a chance.
Yep.
Like the other team might make a great play and get you out, but you got to take that chance.
Oh yeah.
Better to do that sometimes. Yep. And if they make a great play, tip your hat and say, there you go. But in my mind, if even 8 out of 10 times you're probably going to be safe, you take that chance. Yeah. Maybe not with 2 outs in the last inning.
Yeah,
maybe not.
Depends on where the game's at.
Right. That's how you work that. Andrew Phillips is with us here at 365sportscast.com this week. We're talking about high school baseball, the ability to try to get to the next level, get to play college, and hopefully someday the pros. Andrew, what would you say is the area that you've improved in the most in baseball just in the last few years? What has increased the most?
I think my swing has taken a big step. I've been working really hard on being able to get that swing to hit better pitching. My swing's a lot smoother. I have a lot more speed through it.
Okay.
I'm working on being able to be more consistent at the plate, but it's getting better.
Okay. So is that something you'd say, a few years ago you had struggles with that consistency at the plate?
I've been taking lessons, and then with a coach from Blizzard. His name's Eddie Gerald. He was in the minors with the Twins and the Royals. Okay. So he's been helping me out a lot. So
do you then, here we are in the high school season, and certainly different than playing with the Blizzard and these other elite teams, because there are some very good baseball players around here, certainly some good baseball teams, but not quite at that level on every team you face. So do you relish those opportunities when they're throwing their ace? They've got a really good pitcher, I don't know, when you play Hayfield this year, they've got some good pitchers. That you're like, hey, this is what I need. I need to face this. Yeah. Because otherwise, sometimes you might face a team that's not very good, or the pitcher. Do you get a little too eager then? You should be able to eat these guys up, kind of a thing?
So Yeah, so it's a big difference facing like 75 miles an hour. So it looks really slow coming in. So I have to just think, stay back, don't try to do too much. Just make solid contact, try to hit it back up the middle. Don't try to pull everything as far as I can, just because then I'll get too eager, like you said, and hit a ground ball to first base every time. So I just got to remember to stay back and don't do too much.
And meanwhile, you probably have some teammates at a high school level that 75 miles an hour, they're going, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You know, because they're not used to seeing that.
Yeah.
And
kids there's kids around here that have the opportunity to play all year round, play baseball all year round, or they were playing other sports, which is good too. So yeah, it'll be the first time they've seen live pitching in a year. So.
Right. Yeah. And even seeing the different breaking pitches and stuff like that too. Because for you, if you're facing these elite guys and they're throwing 90 plus, and then they throw an off speed that's 80, pretty big jump, and it's still faster than what probably the average pitcher throws here in high school in the area. And so I suppose, and that probably helps you in the long run too, that discipline that you keep referring to and talking about. Where do you think you still need to improve? What else does Andrew Phillips have to work on?
Well, I have to improve everything still if I want to make it to the next level, but the biggest thing is I need more throwing velocity.
Okay.
I think that's my weakest point right now is velocity. I can locate stuff, but like I'd have a hard time throwing people out from deep in the outfield if they're tagging or something. So I need to work on my velocity and then still just have more consistency at the plate. Okay. Which, I mean, if you look at pros and stuff, that's a battle that you're going to face your whole career. But I could still get better at being a little more consistent at the plate.
Right.
I think I have enough bat speed, enough pop off the bat to make it to the next level, but I need more consistency and better, stronger
velocity. Yeah. Because here you're a very natural center fielder at this level.
Yeah.
And perhaps if you go to the next level, you would have to shift a different spot in the outfield. Again, the arm velocity is a big part of that on where you play. Certainly right field has different expectations for that, and left field and everything else. But so that's something to work on and keep. There's that strength and other things. And you pitch a little bit too, so you're still. You're working on a little bit of that. But outfield is your place to be.
Yeah, that's where I would probably end up.
Yeah, I mean, you pitch mainly because in high school and small schools, everybody has to pitch.
Yep.
Right? Everybody's got to take their turn and take care of that. Who are some of your favorite pro ball players right now? Like, who do you follow and say, I want to be kind of like that guy?
Well, my favorite player is probably Jackie Bradley Jr., Boston Red Sox center fielder. Well, he played with the Brewers last year. Now he's back in Boston.
Yep.
He is amazing at defense. I mean, he'll make these amazing Superman catches. He has a crazy strong arm. He's not the best at hitting, but defensive-wise, he's my favorite.
Okay. Do you think he's better than Byron Buxton defensively?
I don't know. That's a toss-up.
Well, the speed is so incredible.
Yeah.
The difference there. But.
Yeah. I'd say Buxton has him in speed, obviously, but Jackie has a really strong arm.
Yeah, right. Who else is out there that you say, wow, that guy's somebody I would like to be like?
Oh, I like Mike Trout. He's just some of the, morals and stuff that he says. And, obviously he's an amazing ball player. He's a center fielder as well. He comes from a smaller background, too.
Kind of wish he'd have a chance to play in the playoffs some year.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be,
that'd be pretty cool.
One of the all-time greats.
Yeah.
And it's almost... Whether you know who Ernie Banks was or not, used to play for the Cubs, and the Cubs were terrible and bad and horrible and everything, and Ernie Banks didn't get chances to play in the playoffs, and he's a Hall of Famer kind of a thing. So do you, when you watch these guys, you watch pro baseball and everything, do you try to pick up some things, say, hey, if I change my game that way?
Oh, yeah.
You're using those sort of things?
Yep. If you watch the best, they're obviously the best at the game, so they're going to have stuff that you can pick up on because they're at that highest level. So
right, just watching the arm movements and what they're doing at the plate and everything. So high school baseball, again, you're supposed to play a ball game today. It's not going to happen. Hopefully by the time this broadcasts, you'll have at least one game under your belt.
Yeah.
Who knows how that'll be. But how do you feel like the local team here, the Panthers, look for you guys this year? What are the expectations for the team?
Well, I hope we can make a little playoff run again. Hopefully we can win like 10-12 games in the regular season.
Because last year you guys sort of surprised people in the playoffs. You were you were a lower 12 seed, and made it all the way. Won like 4 playoff games.
Yeah, we won 4 playoff games.
Yeah, so knocked off a bunch of high seeds on your way to do that.
Yep.
So
we beat Blue Earth, who beat us really bad in the regular season.
Yeah.
It was like 16 to some small number.
Okay. But your pitching really improved in the playoffs.
Yes, our pitching stepped up in the playoffs. So if we can have that same pitching in the regular season, hopefully we can do some damage.
Probably not going to take people by surprise this year when it comes to that. I mean, teams are going to go, oh, look at this. They really came on last year.
Yeah.
Lost some key players, but, bring it along. Everybody's gotten a little bit better.
Yeah, we're going to have a few younger kids with us, so hopefully they look like they want to help us succeed in practice, so hopefully they'll step up for us.
Right. And you guys have, like you've been playing varsity baseball for a few years here, and you got that experience, and some of the other guys too, and help lead them along. And that leadership, we talk on this program a lot with the people that come on. Leadership is so important.
Yeah.
You've got to step up. And do you see yourself as a leader on this team?
Yeah, I try to help out kids as much as I can. I mean, on Twitter yesterday, Mark posted me giving some advice to kids.
Okay.
And so if kids, I'll try to give advice here and there, not too much, but just like if I see something, I'm like, hey, try this out.
Yeah, because you don't want to be overwhelming on them either. But yeah, referring to Mark Lee, varsity baseball coach here at NRHEG. How about, so the Red Sox, that's your team, right?
Yes.
Yeah. They're in a tough division.
Yeah, they are.
The AL East, holy cow. Can they even make the playoffs in that division?
Well, they just lost their star pitcher, Chris Sale, again onto the injury reserve, but
so a little tougher. They got Trevor Story though.
They got Trevor Story,
who everybody here in Minnesota thought was coming here, and now
he went to Boston.
Yeah. But you know what the best part of that is, and we've talked on here before about this, is he didn't go to the Yankees.
Yeah.
Isn't that the most important thing? The Yankees didn't get him. They didn't get Correa.
Exactly.
And nobody's crying outside of New York for them. Not one person. So you think they have a chance? They can.
I sure hope so.
Because
last year they didn't have the greatest team, and they still made it to the playoffs.
And expanded playoffs this year again. So really, there are 4 teams in the AL East that could make a playoff run.
Yeah,
they could. Everybody except the Orioles, I think, has a real chance. The Orioles are they're there.
Rough.
Yeah,
they're just there to.
You think the Twins have a chance?
Well,
the White Sox are good.
They are a Minnesota sports team.
Well, yeah. So what you're saying is they're going to let us down.
They're going to give you a little bit of hope, and then they're going to come crashing down.
All right. Well, you fit in well on this show then. If I asked you today, World Series this year, realistic, who's in the World Series this year?
Well, the Dodgers are going to be a pretty strong team.
Yeah.
I think Toronto's going to be a pretty strong team. Okay. I don't know.
The Dodgers seem like they've kind of gone out and bought a really good team.
Yeah, they spent a lot of money.
Yeah, and if they don't get there, that would probably be a failure.
Yeah.
I would think. I mean, you had Freddie Freeman, you had these other guys. I agree with you with Toronto. I really think that they're, again, injuries always play a key factor, but I think Toronto's the team to beat in the American League right now.
They got some superstars on that team.
Well, Vlad Guerrero Jr., Barrios, all those, they're fantastic, and they're kind of fun to watch, too.
Oh, yeah.
So, all right. Well, Andrew, thank you so much for joining us this week here on Whatever Flips Your Waffle, and best of luck this season and moving ahead toward those dreams, and perhaps once you continue on your path, Division I, maybe the pros will bring you on back and talk about that path you've taken. Thanks, Andrew.
Well, thank you.
Are you making those summer vacation plans, looking for some short trips to get away? Why not visit New Ulm, Minnesota for a historic destination and lots of things to do? From their festivals to their downtown, everything you could want for a weekend or for a week, or for however long you want to go. If you want to drive down for a day, visit New Ulm, Minnesota. And while you're there and you're looking for a place to stay, check out the Holiday House or the Holiday House Zwei at Airbnb or Vrbo. These two places host between 8 to 12 guests, and they're nearly 100 years old, the homes, not the guests, each. Plenty of modern amenities are provided, but you'll feel like you were swept back in time. Plus, you'll be very close to the exciting downtown area of New Ulm. Lots of shopping, restaurants, coffee shops, bars, parks, things for young and old alike to do. Shar is your hostess. She's got top ratings for these houses and has rates that will make you rethink staying in a hotel. So visit New Ulm, Minnesota, and check out the Holiday House, Haus, and the Holiday House Zwei, Zwei, for a great place to stay. And now it's time for the State of Minnesota Sports. We talked a lot about the Twins in the opening segment, so we'll move past that and look ahead here for some of our other Minnesota sports teams. The WNBA draft happened on Monday night, and the Lynx were trading draft picks, kind of building some draft picks for next year, which perhaps makes some sense. Here's a team that looks like it's ready to win, and, you're always trying to add young talent as well. If they feel like they're ready to go now, but they're building for next year, as well, with some young players being able to come in, and maybe they saw where they were in the draft and decided, we're not going to get what we would need there anyway. And so the Lynx doing a little wheeling and dealing before draft night. And before we know it, it will be the WNBA season. And after a great women's NCAA tournament, we can look forward to some outstanding professional women's basketball starting in May. The Vikings, again, staying kind of low-key. Kirk Cousins came out the other day, his first real press conference since he had signed his extension, saying he wants to retire a Viking. Well, that's all well and good. Maybe, Kirk, you'd like to take a little bit of a salary cut as well so we could have a good team around you. But again, we'll see. It looks like our new general manager has been trying to fine-tune some things and get ready. And really the next big step is the draft and how things are going to go for them. Again, as we've talked about on here, and we'll get in more detail when we get much closer here. It sure looks like they're targeting the secondary as a place that a first-round pick that might be spent on that area of need for the Vikings. Even with Patrick Peterson coming back, Harrison Smith there, these guys are getting a little long in the tooth, and it's time to be building up some of those younger players. They've had some bad luck there with Gladney, being accused and later acquitted of some tomfoolery, but you just don't know those things and what might happen at the time. So the Wild, boy, the other day they were down 3 goals to the Los Angeles Kings. You're just saying, oh, here we go again. But to their credit, they made a comeback, won 6-3. And as I read the story a little bit and listened to what the coach had to say, he goes, well, I could have done a couple things. I could have called timeout, chewed him out a little bit. We could have done this, that, and the other. And I just sort of let him figure it out. Now, to me, that's the sign of a good quality team where you don't need, at a professional level, you don't need a coach sitting here and picking things apart and trying to figure it out. Not this late in the season. That's something you would do at the beginning of the season, that sort of a thing. That's something you do at younger levels. The Wild are just in the thick of this battle. They've got an important game coming up Saturday against the St. Louis Blues, and a team that they're battling back and forth for that higher seed. It looks like they might end up playing the Blues, is my understanding, in the playoffs, and you'd certainly like to have home ice advantage and be playing at the XL Energy Center if that's the case. So a ways to go. The Wild won't finish their regular season until the end of April here, but they have been playing well, again, scoring a lot of goals, and comebacks like a 3-0 comeback. That's something to hang your hat on. And certainly the Wild are poised to continue that trend, hopefully, as time moves on. Well, as many of you know, even though this is airing on Wednesday night, I have to get things recorded and taken care of ahead of time. And so as I record this, the Minnesota Timberwolves are not finished with their play-in tournament game against the Los Angeles Clippers. The great hope here is that by the time you hear this, You know that the Wolves will be playing as the number 7 seed against the Memphis Grizzlies starting on Saturday. However, if they have lost, then they've got another game at home against the winner of the 9-10 matchup. A little dangerous spot to be in if you get there. Clearly a team has probably played well to get to that second game. They have to travel, you don't. So everything lines up for the Wolves. But again, if you can beat the Los Angeles Clippers, who admittedly are getting healthy at the right time, playing a little bit better and kind of really bringing the team together that they want. They are a dangerous team and certainly not one to take for granted. And I was listening a little bit on K-Fan here in Minnesota and reading some other things. Here's the Minnesota idea of why do we even do this play-in tournament? Because, the Wolves would have been the 7th seed in prior to this starting during the pandemic. And you wouldn't have to worry about it. They'd just be heading right to the playoffs. I understand the NBA's point in doing this. You keep more teams more interested for a longer time. But, you look over in the East and you say, oh, my gosh, some of these teams are just really not that good. And even when you look at the 9 and 10 seeds in the West, like, oh, my goodness, why would they even get a chance? But that's how it's set up, and so you have to play by the rules. It's a little frustrating when you look over in the East and you say, geez, if the Wolves were in the East, that's a lot of ifs, that game against the Chicago Bulls on Sunday to finish the regular season would have actually meant something. It would have meant the number 6 seed. They actually were tied in record with the Chicago Bulls, and the Bulls ended up with the 6th seed over in the East. So a lot of things are different between the Eastern and the Western Conference. But hopefully they've beaten the Clippers, because you'd much rather be the 7th seed and play the Memphis Grizzlies, who they've played pretty well against at times this year. I believe they split the season series. Than be the 8th seed and have to play Phoenix. Phoenix is so head and shoulders above so many other teams, and you really don't have to play them in the first round. You'd feel better, more comfortable. I mean, eventually, if you think you're going to continue to advance, you're going to have to beat them anyway, but you'd rather not face them in the first round. Though there's something to be said, sometimes in a little bit shorter series, you can maybe have a better chance to pull a big upset like that, but the Suns seem like the type of team that would be difficult for that to happen against. So hopefully the Wolves will be playing in the opening round of the playoffs this weekend, and next week we'll be able to see how things go along professional basketball. It's just nice to be able to talk about playoff basketball here in Minnesota. It doesn't happen often, and we're excited when it does. One last area to touch on, a little bit of Gopher basketball. The women's team continues to lose players through the portal. One of their players signed on with Indiana now this year. I'm a little unsure how I feel about the portal. I understand it gives players a little more freedom and stuff, but it sure seems like, boy, if you don't like one little thing, you might hop ship, or the danger of building some super teams or whatever. I don't know. On the other hand, the men's team isn't losing. They had to rebuild a completely new team with a completely new coach this year, but it sounds like Ben Johnson is keeping his guys around, the ones who aren't graduating, and will build from there, and that's a positive thing. We'll have to see what Coach Lindsay Whalen does with her squad and how she rebuilds that with new freshmen coming in and maybe other people who might come through the portal as well. A belated congratulations to Lindsay Whalen as well. She has been named to the Basketball Hall of Fame, a well-deserved honor for one of the great women's basketball players that we've seen both in college at the University of Minnesota and during her different stops in the WNBA, a multiple-time champion, great leader on the court, one of the all-time greats in the WNBA. And that's the state of Minnesota sports. And now it's time for This Week in Minnesota Sports History. On April 13th, in 1949, the Minneapolis Lakers beat the Washington Capitals to win the Basketball Association of America Finals 4-2. Later that year, the BAA would merge with the National Basketball League to form the NBA. On April 14th, in 1910, President William Howard Taft became the first president to throw out the ceremonial first pitch of the baseball season at the Washington Senators' first game. Of course, the Senators would later move to Minnesota in 1961 and become our Twins. On April 15th, a big day, not just in sports history, but in history itself. In 1947, Jackie Robinson became the first black player to play in the major leagues, debuting for the Dodgers. In 1997, Major League Baseball retired his number 42 on that date. And in 2009, all players started wearing number 42 for games on April 15th. And this year, what they're doing is having the 42 of the Dodgers blue on everybody's jerseys that would go along with their home jersey. So another added nod to a well-deserved player that has gone down in history. On April 15th in 1976, Yankee Stadium reopened, and the home team erased a 4-0 deficit to our Twins to win that ball game. And in 2000, on April 15th, Cal Ripken Jr. reached 3,000 hits in his career with a single off Hector Carrasco at the Metrodome as the Orioles beat the Twins 6-4. On April 17th, in 2009, Jason Kubel became the 9th Twins player to hit for the cycle in an 11-9 win over the Angels. And on April 18th, in 2018, the Twins played their first non-North American game in Puerto Rico with a 2-1 16-inning win over the Cleveland Indians. For our local listeners, this coming week in Richland, Heartland, Ellendale, Geneva sports, always subject to change, of course, but on April 14th, baseball is at Triton, softball home against Triton, and golf will be hitting the links in Alden. On April 18th, baseball is home versus USC, and softball is over in Wells to play the USC Rebels. April 19th has golf over in Kenyon and track running in Mapleton as part of the Maple River Invitational. Again, things can change on a dime, as we've learned already this spring here in Minnesota. Well, that'll do it. Another helping of waffles is complete here at 365sportscast.com. I'm glad you decided to spend another hour with me. Hope you'll continue to tune in each week, Wednesday nights, 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central. Remember, jot it down if you know you won't be able to join us for the original broadcast. Each week's episode will replay Thursdays at 10, Fridays at 7, Saturdays at 10, Mondays at 8, and Tuesdays at 10, all Eastern time. And you can also join us on YouTube. They archive there immediately after the original broadcast. Search up whatever flips your waffle. Remember, if you have thoughts, if you think you might be a good person to interview, you have some interesting thoughts, email me, waffleflipper22@gmail.com, or message me on Twitter at Mr. D 1973. Next week, we'll dive back into the world of Minnesota sports. How will the Twins react after their first week of the season? The Vikings are inching closer to the draft. The playoffs have begun for the Timberwolves, and the Wild are getting closer to their own playoff run. I'll have another special guest to delve into all that and more. Thanks, Skin, for joining me. This is Mark Domeyer, signing off with Syrup.